My son, who studied abroad, is joining this company, so choose whether to be fired or resign.
It came out of nowhere and didn't make sense, but it sounded like a notice of dismissal. Norris said, "The old should just relax at home and play chess." "I'll resign then." I immediately responded to Norris's words, lightly laughing and saying I'd rather play chess than work here. I'm Tyler Scott, a translator, 60 years old. Born in Tokyo, I've lived in various places like France, China, and Thailand following my dad's job transfers. I returned to the US during my university years. Leveraging my multilingual skills, I joined a translation company after graduation. At this company, I've done everything from subtitles and dubbing for foreign movies to translating books and documents for businesses and the medical sector. For about the last 10 years, I've also translated Asian comics, foreign games, and documents for foreigners living in the US. In addition to being fluent in languages, the job required a wide range of specialized knowledge and current trends to translate, so it was rewarding. I was confident in my language skills. Even so, I took language proficiency tests during college and, after joining the company, acquired qualifications such as a translation certification and a French language proficiency test. The average age of the employees is 40. Experience is crucial in this job, so the age group tends to be older. I was the oldest in the company. The president was 10 years my senior but passed away from illness 2 years ago, and now his 50-year-old son, Norris, has taken over. Norris is quite a tough and capable man, different from his predecessor. With the changing times, he has increased the variety of work we handle. For example, he has brought in projects like subtitling for Asian movies and translating foreign games. Recently, he's been eager to hire and train young people fluent in various languages. Once I was working on subtitles for a French animated movie about war. It had many heavy scenes, but being an animation, I wanted to avoid ending too seriously, so I made the translation a bit humorous. Then, Norris harshly commented,
Tyler, do you understand the theme? It's about war, so it needs to be more serious to convey the message. How long have you been translating? Is your mind getting foggy? It feels like you're at your limit.
That was harsh from Norris. Since his predecessor's passing, he has been very assertive and aggressive. Despite my years of experience, I wondered if Norris was right about the translation. Still, I made some changes, but in the end, it was a happy ending, a film I hoped children would watch. I thought it would be too heavy if it remained too serious, so I kept my original script. When I presented it to the film's producers, they said,
"This feels a bit heavy. It doesn't seem like you, Tyler."
As I thought, I showed them my original script in front of Norris. I had this version initially, but I was conflicted because of the theme.
They prefer this one.
The decision by the producers was immediate. Norris looked displeased, but the client's opinion is the priority, so there was nothing to be done. However, after that, Norris seemed to see me as an adversary. I then began working on a guidebook for foreigners living in the US. The project was commissioned by government agencies and had to be completed within a month. The languages weren't just Japanese, French, Korean, Chinese, and Spanish. It also included Vietnamese, Filipino, Portuguese, Indonesian, Burmese, Nepali, and Ukrainian. There were 5 of us in charge, but I, being fluent in Japanese, French, and 5 other languages, had the most work. The team is made up of 3 seniors and 2 junior employees. The senior group included Mary and Tom, both in their 40s, and myself. We had worked together for over 20 years, making it an easy collaboration. The deadline was tight, so everyone was prepared to work overtime and give up their days off. But at one point, there was a typo on a page handled by one of the junior employees. Of course, it was found before submission, but the employee had been feeling unwell during the work, leading to a significant number of mistakes. Mary had discovered it during the first check, but at that point, Norris dropped a bomb.
Tyler, haven't you done the final check? You're the final responsible person, aren't you?
We had a week until the deadline, so I was still desperately working on my tasks. We had planned to redo all the final checks in the last 3 days, but Norris found a mistake during an interim review. Can't you just let me handle it since there's still time?
What's with that tone? This is happening because I left it to you. Who do you think holds the final responsibility? Me, right?
Instead of working as soon as possible, he berated me for a long time, as if he had caught a big break. The morale of the team members dropped, especially the junior employee who made the mistake, who just hung his head.
That's why I hated leaving it to an old guy like you. You're done.
Norris said that and removed me from the project. The remaining 4 looked anxious upon hearing this. Honestly, it would be impossible for 4 people to manage, including the final checks, in 1 more week. However, Norris was keeping a close eye on us. Reluctantly, after Norris went home, I secretly worked until midnight. Of course, the 4 were with me. And on the morning of the due date, we finally completed the task at 8:30. No one was to blame, but the 4 thanked me and apologized. Norris, who arrived after 9 o'clock, looked at the completed documents, satisfied, and snorted at me.
4 people could do it, couldn't they? Turns out the old guy was just holding us back.
That day, I went home on time and slept through the weekend. I was completely exhausted as I had barely slept. I sighed, wondering if I was going to work under him with stress until I retired. Then on Monday, the start of the week, I went to work feeling refreshed, but I was called by Norris first thing in the morning.
My son, who studied abroad, is joining this company, so choose whether to be fired or demoted.
Sorry, what do you mean? It was so sudden that it didn't make sense. However, it sounded like a notice of dismissal.
So, my talented son is coming back to join us. You're old now, so just relax at home and play chess.
I was immediately ticked off by his words. I'll resign then. I responded sarcastically with a light laugh. Rather than work here, I'll go play chess.
Huh?
Norris got visibly upset when I repeated the chess remark he initially made. All the employees came rushing to me, but I bowed deeply and left the company. Thank you for everything. I'll be in touch. I had tried my best under the second generation Norris for 2 years, having been well supported by his predecessor, but I had reached my limit. Now, with my skills and connections, I realized I could make it on my own, even on a small scale. The predecessor had once suggested I go independent, and now I finally understood why. He had never said to take care of me under the second generation. Probably because he knew Norris's character and way of working. He had always told the senior employees that once they gained experience here, they should go on to do whatever they liked. However, since he fell ill, the employees had not had the chance to express their thoughts. On the way home after speaking with Norris, I wanted to think things through, so I didn't go straight home but took a train for a long ride instead. Resigning was something I wanted, but indeed with so much happening, I needed to clear my head. That night, I returned home and discussed everything with my family, declaring my decision to work as a freelancer. My wife and my son Sam understood and supported me. That evening, I received a message from Mary. According to that, it seems that Norris's son quickly came to the company after that. His name is Jack Anderson.
Anyway, his appearance was terrible. Thought he was a hippie.
She brought up an old saying, and the conversation went on.
Studying abroad? More like he was just messing around, I think. Apparently, he was in Germany for 5 years.
She lamented this addition. Moreover, Norris's son, Jack, brought a strange woman to the office. Her flashy makeup and belly-bearing look had everyone taken aback. Of course, even Norris, who had boasted so much before, was surprised. The next day, aiming for Norris's absence, I went to the old company to pick up my resignation papers. Outside the company, there was an unfamiliar man loitering, but I recognized him as Norris's son at first glance. Just as Mary had said, he really didn't look like a typical corporate employee. Our eyes met, and he looked at me as if he were looking at a suspicious person.
Who are you?
Jack appeared listless and not very spirited. I resigned yesterday. I came to pick up some documents related to my resignation.
Oh, my dad mentioned that.
I was a bit curious, but I went into the company anyway. Then, Mary and some familiar members came over. There's something I need to talk to you all about soon. Let's have dinner together. After saying that, I took care of what I needed at the HR department and left the company. Still, Jack was standing by the flower bed. Though we wouldn't be working together, something about him piqued my interest, and I ended up speaking to him. You are Norris's son, aren't you? Jack turned around and nodded. Was your study abroad in Germany?
Yeah, well, I didn't plan to return, but my mom got hospitalized.
Is that so? But you're going to work at this company, right?
I don't know. Maybe. You caused some problems, didn't you?
It seems Norris has been speaking quite poorly of me. No, it's not like that. If anything, maybe it's because I'm 60. Excuse me. With that, I parted ways. Talking to Jack in person, he seemed different from Mary's impression. From the next day, I was busy with my new job. First, I went to the IRS tax office and the district office to handle the paperwork necessary for starting my own business. I also made my business cards and emailed my previous clients to inform them of my resignation and new venture. Once I've made up my mind, I act quickly. I couldn't visit all clients, but I went to see Sarah from Anderson Publishing, with whom I had a close relationship.
Tyler, you resigned? I was about to contact you. I have a job I wanted to ask you about. This is perfect.
With that, I immediately took on a job translating a children's book. Gradually, I started receiving more work from previous clients. In the afternoon, I received another message from Mary. It seems that several clients had contacted the old company. There were requests for translating academic books and novels, and they had specifically asked for me, but I was no longer there. Some clients hadn't seen my email yet, and many didn't know I had quit.
What? Why did Tyler resign? Can't we contact him?
It was a storm of inquiries like that. I feel bad for Norris, but I have my long-developed skills and a network. And above all, I have always conducted my work with the integrity and thoroughness that the predecessor valued. That's why clients trusted me and kept coming back. Without considering such things, out of affection for his son, he cut me off, a man in his 60s. The next morning from early on, Norris called me 300 times. It felt like he was a stalker, creepy indeed. There were also several messages.
Tyler, I have a favor to ask. Please answer the phone.
It started like this, but by the end, he was furious.
Don't pretend you're not home. Answer now. Cut it out.
He showed no shred of decency. In the end, I didn't answer. Mary kept me updated.
Norris is at his wit's end. His son Jack is always taking breaks and making many mistakes. The office atmosphere is stagnant.
Then in the afternoon, Norris came to my house. He rang the doorbell 5 times. It felt nothing short of harassment. I had a bad feeling and prepared a voice recorder. However, officially, I wasn't home. Instead, my son Sam, who had taken the day off and was at home, answered. Sam had been doing judo since his student days and was well built. When Sam opened the door, Norris yanked it hard.
Tyler, I've been trying to contact you several times. Why won't you answer?
Huh? Who are you?
Norris, thinking I was the one answering, shouted,
Is your dad around? If not, tell him his firing is on hold. Come right away.
I was listening from the living room, but Norris was rude as ever and making no sense. I would never go back, even if he apologized a million times. Sam, having heard from me, turned on the voice recorder in his pocket and asked,
Who are you? That's what I'm asking.
Norris introduced himself and tried to explain in order, but he couldn't help raising his voice. It was all because I wasn't there.
My dad's currently on a trip to Hawaii.
Huh? Why? That makes no sense.
Not making sense is you. Coming to someone's house and raising your voice suddenly is extremely rude. And what do you mean by firing is on hold all of a sudden?
Norris seemed annoyed to explain.
He was fired because he's too old. But I guess we'll hire him back.
Did my dad cause any problem?
No, just that he's 60. He's just in the way of the younger folks. It's time for him to step down. You'll understand when you're that age.
He was talking nonsense like that.
Well, if he's in Hawaii, it can't be helped. Nice lifestyle, huh? Going abroad right after quitting.
He left as if spitting the words out.
Recording done. That president is a bastard.
My son said that. Afterwards, Norris kept stubbornly calling my phone. I thought I told him I was in Hawaii, but he seemed intent on chasing me down wherever I might be. However, I ignored him. Frustrated, Norris came to our house again the next day.
You again. What on earth?
I can't get through to his phone. Can you contact him?
But my dad has retired, right?
Then Norris exploded again.
Your dad is doing whatever he wants. He quit without notice, went abroad, and didn't even greet our clients. He's doing whatever he pleases. The clients are innocent. I do the job if asked. That's my style. If he keeps this up, I might just sue him, so tell him that.
Sam was dumbfounded and shouted back,
What are you talking about? You were the one who fired him, right? And after he retired, where he goes or what he does is his own business. What exactly do you plan to sue him for? Tell me.
Norris fell silent, perhaps realizing he had become too emotional and was speaking incoherently.
You unjustly fired him, and threatening my dad is the problem. You need to take responsibility for what you said.
When Sam said this, Norris approached him aggressively.
What are you talking about, you brat?
Sam, being well-built, stepped forward and glared down at Norris. Clearly outmatched by Sam's greater height and build, Norris could not contend.
If you keep this up, I will call the police.
Sam said this and then slammed the door shut. Sam laughed and said to me,
It's worrying to think such a guy is the president.
I decided to rely on Sam for various matters thereafter. Every time Mary contacted me, I would reach out to the clients again to explain the situation and continue doing business. Gradually, clients began to ask me directly for work. One evening, I arranged a dinner with Mary and 5 former colleagues to check in on everyone's feelings and made a certain promise. The next day, there was trouble at the former company. It seems Jack accidentally deleted the data of a document Mary had been working on. He didn't just delete it, but also emptied the recycle bin. It was a novel of 200 pages that Mary had been handling alone. I remembered it well since I had worked on it before I resigned. Although the client was somewhat peculiar, Mary had a good rapport with them. Attempts were made to recover the computer files, but they could not be fully restored, and Norris was furious. Even though it was his son's mistake, he blamed Mary heavily. Mary, having no place to direct her anger, vented to me in a message. But the work had to be finished regardless.
Sorry for venting. All back to work now.
That's the message I received. Hearing from Mary, I remembered Jack, who I had approached previously. He might have made a mistake, but something about his demeanor and way of speaking didn't sit right with me. He didn't seem like someone just out of college. Who really was he? Curious, I searched his name online. Turns out, Jack was a flower artist. Last year, he had won a world championship for flower art in England and was well known in that field. It wasn't covered in the news in the US, and at least no one at the company knew about it. I remembered seeing Jack by the flower beds, and it finally made sense. Afterward, various questions arose, and I secretly asked Tom to do something. Through Tom, I reached out to Jack. Initially, Jack, not knowing what it was about, declined my invitation. It's important for both you and Mary. Moved by this, he agreed to meet at a hotel lounge on his day off. When I told him about his own background, Jack was surprised to know how much I knew. He said he had taken a break from his flower work and returned home because his mom was hospitalized. He had always had a poor relationship with his dad, Norris, and had chosen to study abroad to get away. While studying there, he became fascinated with the path of a flower artist and worked at a large flower shop in Berlin. Thanks to his talent, he competed in and won a world championship a few years later. However, Norris, who never acknowledged the world of flowers, ordered him to work at the company once he was back in the US. Jack harbored resentment towards his dad, who did not even take care of his mom and had no desire to work with him. Yet he couldn't just sit idle, so he ended up working at the translation company for a while.
I never thought I'd talk about this with anyone. Why did you want to talk to me?
Of course, the main reason was Mary. After explaining the situation, Jack agreed to help. I had already asked Tom to gather information, and based on that, I decided to go back to the old company. It's been a while, Norris.
What now, after going to Hawaii? Ungrateful wretch.
With all due respect, it seems you are the one being unreasonable. I said it loudly in front of all the employees.
Huh, coming to my company to complain, are you? You've got guts.
It seems Mary has been unfairly burdened with responsibility for the work.
It's none of your business. Someone get him out of here.
However, no one moved to obey Norris. I've got something here. Saying that, I showed video from the company's security cameras. It showed Norris returning to the office at night, transferring translated novel data from Mary's computer to a USB drive, and deleting it from the computer with Jack watching from behind. I continued. Behind in the video, Norris is talking to Jack, who has recorded their conversation. Please listen to this. Jack then played the voice recorder.
Jack, Employees are a hassle. Even if they're not very useful, they stick around for a long time. We need to rejuvenate if we want the company to grow. What we're doing now is part of that effort. Just do as I say. You'll be president one day.
I never said I'd take over this company.
Don't talk back. What are you going to do with a flower job? Going to Germany for a career with no future?
Norris turned pale. He probably didn't expect Jack to be recording or to betray him. And he certainly didn't anticipate that I would take the lead in such a matter, which left him flustered and panicked.
What nonsense is this? The mistake was Jack's, and it was Mary's responsibility for not checking. What authority do you even have to do this?
Norris was furious. But it was clear to anyone who saw the security camera footage and heard the voice recorded that it was Norris and Jack, no doubt about it. You were planning to make Mary take the fall and push her into resigning just like me. Causing an issue and then resigning would mean no severance pay according to company policy. Killing two birds with one stone. I was fired up. Moreover, you forced your own son into a job change and even tried to pin this mistake on him. Jack came back because his mom was hospitalized. He has no intention of taking over from you. Your autocratic attitude has appalled both the employees and your son. Who would follow someone like you? Mary, knowing the truth, spoke up in front of Norris.
I can't forgive this. I'm resigning today. I was planning to leave after finishing this job anyway. You tried to blame me for the mistake, even though I had saved a copy of the translation on the USB drive. Plus, you made me work overtime. I'll be suing you for damages.
Mary apologized to Jack.
I judged you by your appearance. I'm sorry. I didn't think you were also a victim of Norris.
Jack shook his head and smiled.
I'm sorry too. I should have said from the start I wasn't planning to come to this company. Once my mom is discharged, I'll return to Berlin, but I was planning to open a store in the US. My partner has been scouting properties every day.
Everyone realized the woman who came on the first day was his business partner and nodded in understanding. Norris shouted,
What is this? Wrapping things up neatly, Jack. I won't allow any of this.
I'm not a child anymore. I haven't financially burdened anyone. You neglect mom, and now you try to act like a dad. Plus, you disregard the employees that Grandpa cherished. You're unfit to be president. If you're just going to act high and mighty, quit being president. You good for nothing.
Jack conveyed our feelings to Norris. I had the last word. Norris, all your schemes are now exposed. But if you think this is over, you're sorely mistaken. This is just chapter 2. Goodbye. I left the company. The next day, Mary resigned and came to my house around 11 a.m.
Good morning. Thank you for yesterday.
She seemed refreshed and had a clear smile. Let's wait a bit longer. Then by noon, Tom and the two younger employees who had worked the last time had all arrived. Everyone had finished their work by yesterday and submitted their resignation first thing this morning. We had reaffirmed the stories of the predecessor at the dinner we gathered for previously.
Once you've gained enough experience, it's better to go independent.
Those were the words of the predecessor. Mary and I had heard this directly from him. The two younger employees are still relatively inexperienced, but since they are not motivated under Norris, I decided to have them work under me first. They can gain experience here and eventually go independent. Mary and Tom have already gone freelance, continuing to work with former clients, and we share the workload during busy times. We all gathered for this founding ceremony in the afternoon. Sam joined us later. I had asked Sam to send a certified letter to Norris. Sam works at a law firm. He has direct evidence and is a witness to the wrongful termination, non-payment of severance, and the numerous threatening remarks Norris made when he barged into my home. He also handled the cases for the other colleagues concerning unpaid overtime and severance, sending certified letters for them. 3 days later, I went with Sam, who accompanied me as a lawyer, to Norris's office. Norris was surprised to see Sam.
What? You and your son both coming to complain?
I am lawyer Sam Scott.
He said this and continued to speak in a calm and composed manner.
I believe you've received the certified letters from 4 other people as well. Are you planning to take all these to court? I wouldn't advise it unless you have a lot of time on your hands.
Hearing this, Norris slumped, defeated.
Help me out, please.
He begged on his knees, but it was too late for any pleas. There are only 7 employees left with Norris. If these employees leave, the company will not be able to survive. Especially if he has to pay out severance, it would be disastrous. He grudgingly agreed to pay the unpaid dues as stated in the certified letters. I had the last word. Norris, Jack has a much better eye for people than you. He's the one who truly inherited the predecessor's spirit. If you don't run this company into the ground, maybe the predecessor can rest easy. But that's unlikely, isn't it? Goodbye. With that, Sam and I left the office. Norris's translation company eventually went bankrupt. It was due to clients leaving one after another, and Norris, frustrated, yelled at the remaining employees daily, failing to treat them with respect. He was later pursued by creditors and struggled with liquidating the company. Jack, after his mom recovered and was discharged, returned to Berlin, but 6 months later, he opened a flower shop in his mom's hometown of California. Both he and his mom renounced any inheritance to avoid taking on Norris's debts. Jack sent beautiful floral arrangements to each of our homes as a grand opening gift. Unlike Norris, he's a thoughtful young man. As for me, in collaboration with my colleagues, our work has been going well. I've been able to pay the 2 younger employees from the first month, and our workload is steadily increasing. Although we are small offices, the 5 of us collaborate and take on big projects, maintaining most of our previous company's clients. For this, I am grateful. I am grateful to the predecessor who taught me the basics of the job, and I plan to continue collaborating and growing with the colleagues who have shared both the hard times and the good times.